everybody. It is your boy, your man, Speak Secret. No, or should I say, Toxic Clown 3000. Woo! Back at it with another video. And ladies and gentlemen, today we are going to be reviewing the latest clown horror flick, Clown in a Cornfield. But before we get into the beginning of the video, what's up guys, don't forget to subscribe if you're new to the channel, because number one, it's absolutely free, and number two, also maybe able to YouTube algorithm. Yeah, I recommend the video to more people, and maybe they could join Clown fam. But with that being said guys, let's get into it. And do feel free to comment your thoughts on Clown in the Cornfield down below. But before we get into the actual beginning of the review itself guys, let's give a quick thought synopsis, shall we? So transition into Zemia.
Looking for a fresh start, Quinn and her father moved to the quiet town of Kettle Springs. They soon learn the fractured community has fallen on hard times after losing a treasured factory to a fire. As the locals bicker amongst themselves and tensions boil over, a sinister grinning clown emerges from the cornfields to cleanse the town of its burdens, one bloody victim at a time.
Alright, so going into Clown in the Cornfield, this is the Toxic Gamer talking, not the Toxic Clown. I had not read the book. I knew this was based off a book, but I am not the reader, so I didn't know or read the book. So, went in with that, but from the trailers, I was overall mixed about this film, because, number one, I did think it looked very, very fun. However, secondly, I thought it looked very, very low budget. Then, went and saw the movie yesterday in an early screening, and, well, with that being said, let's just get to my thoughts of Clown in the Cornfield. Alright, so starting off the good here, we always start off with the good for our movie reviews. And start off with the good, we have the fun, over-the-top, gory kills. And I will say, for the most part, even though the kills are good, there are some like that are very conventional that you've seen before. But there's some really good kills with that. Especially, there's one kill with the bench press that we've all seen in the trailers that once you see what actually happens in the aftermath...
Wow. Now, is it the goriest thing I've ever seen? No. But it's still a really awesome kill. And there's some other really good ones, too, especially later on in the final act of the movie that I found enjoyable and satisfying as a Carnage Candy fan. Along with that as well, there's a new final girl in here by the name of Quinn that I also thought was a very nice new addition to the final girl cabinet.
Which she's played by Katie Douglas, which I have only seen little tiny clips of her acting in, like, I don't know what the name of the film was called, but I've seen her act in stuff before, with, like, little clips, but I've never watched the actual film of hers. So, seeing her in this basically was my introduction to her for her full-length acting, and her character of Quinn, I think, overall was a pretty decent final girl, and I hope we get her back for the sequels that are coming for this film, at least if it does well, because I thoroughly enjoyed her character and her performance. Another thing in here is the new potential horror icon of Friendo the Clown. Yes. So over these past few years, we had many horror clown icons. We've had Pennywise, of course. Then we've also had Art the Clown on the horror icon, like little statue. So we have a potential new horror clown icon in Friendo the Clown as well. Or just amongst the clown Hall of Fame with like Joker, Sweet Tooth, and all the other clowns, you know. So overall, I thought that was an interesting thing they did with it being a whodunit, and it always adds a certain fun little nature to the film that you have. So thoroughly enjoyed that new horror icon. I also thought the blend of horror comedy in this was used very, very, very well. Where certainly this year actually has had
pretty decent horror comedies all around, with movies like Companion and Death of a Unicorn, which I thoroughly enjoyed, and then there's also two other films that I haven't seen, like Hell of a Summer and Friendship, which I heard both used well.
along with the horror comedy, there's also a certain self-awareness with the movie as well that I did appreciate. I always appreciate when the movie is very self-aware of what type of movie it is. For example, like the Leprechaun movies acknowledge that they're ridiculous, and Fast and Furious acknowledges it's ridiculous sometimes. Not all the time, but sometimes. As for this one, it acknowledges its ridiculousness, so I think it adds a certain layer to the film for that. So I appreciate that they did that. As for the final good in here, I have the twist in the middle. And it's not really a twist. I'm not going into spoilers here. I want you guys to see the reveal in itself. But in the middle part of the film, I'll elaborate more on this later because it's one of my negatives of the film. But in the early beginning, it felt very run of the mill killer clown whodunit, who was the killer clown that killed everybody and stuff. But when you get to the middle part of the film, there's this like reveal of, oh, okay, so now it's really gonna kick into gear, ain't it? So yeah, I think overall as a whole, that was a fun little reveal there. So I think so that certainly helped get the movie into fifth gear. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, now let's go into the mix aspect of the film. The parts of the film where I'm 50-50 on them. And the first one is the ending reveal of who the killer or the killers is. Again, no spoilers here, but the overall reveal, which we'll get to later again because it's one of my negatives, but the overall reveal I thought was very, very predictable. However, like, the motive I'm still trying to sync on because I see what they were trying to go for, and overall as a whole it is a different and more unique reveal compared to other whodunit slashers where all of a sudden, oh, you killed my family members, so I'm killing you and all the people that come to this town now. Oh, I'm just a psychopath, and this one actually goes for something a little bit different, so I did overall appreciate that reveal. Even though I'm still conflicted about it. Next thing in here, I have the acting, which, as I mentioned before, I think Katie Douglas does good in her role as Quinn, the new final girl. I also think Kevin Durant does good, and the main father figure in here does good too. However, all the surrounding cast, I don't know, man. Maybe besides one, the main love interest of the film, all the other ones kind of felt
flat were their caricatures, and I'll elaborate more later on than that, but I can't tell if the rest of the cast is not acting well, or is it just the script or the characters that they're playing. I don't know, it just felt off to me, except for the character of Quinn and Kevin Durant and her father, maybe.
Speaking of the father, the final mixed aspect I have in here is the father-daughter dynamic you have in here with Quinn and her father, where I don't know if it necessarily clicked or not. There was some moments that was kind of cute and funny, but overall there's a part in the middle of the film where it feels as if they could have done something there, or in the final act of the movie, but they don't really do it. So, I was mixed about that. Now, unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, we move on to the bad. And coming in first, I have the character tropes. Like I said before, I don't know if it was bad acting or the character tropes that you have here. Because you very much have that original style cast. You have the football jock, you have the nerd, you have the high school princess, and then you have like a random girl that hangs out with her as well. So it has a lot of those caricatures, which I was going, oh man, that feels very reminiscent of other things. I wish they would have changed the characters up. And there's not enough to stand out about them to remember them by. So there's that. Another thing in here is the familiarity. So, as I said before, in the beginning of the film, like 40% of the film, it feels very reminiscent of other whodunits that you've seen before. And once, as I said before, with the middle part of the film revealed, that's when the film really gets into high gear and then feels a little bit different compared to other whodunit slashers. But I just wish they changed that first 40% of the film. Next up in here is the predictableness with the reveals of the killer. I loosely talked about this earlier with the whole entire reveals. The motives I was mixed on, but the reveals I saw coming a mile away, and I was right on the dot with them. So yeah, there's that. But as for the final bad I have in here is the slow start. Not only is it very run of the mill familiar early on in the film, it also is
very slow. And it's not like a snail's pace slow, but I just wish they sped it up a little bit more instead of introducing us to this town.
But other than that is just my thoughts on Clown in a Cornfield. But before we end the video, let's bring out the toxic meter. And I will give this a toxic goodness.
Yum.
And I'll give it a B. I thought this was a solid, nice little horror slasher film, and I hope it would be cool to get a franchise out of this, and maybe we'll have Friendo as a new clown horror icon on that pedestal. So, that's just my thoughts on Clown and Cornfield. Be sure to let me know your thoughts of the film down below. But with that being said, that's enough of me clowning around. And with that being said, guys, I'll see y'all next one, everybody. Peace